Welcome everybody to our 2025 Concurrent Enrollment Instructor Conference. We're going to get started here because we've got a lot to cover today and want to make sure that we are cognizant of your time. I'm Tony Gibbons and I am the Director of the Concurrent Enrollment Program at Utah State University. And I'd like to welcome all of our teachers here and thank you for all of your hard work with your concurrent enrollment courses and any department reps that are joining us for this first part. You'll be with them later. Also, thank you to Shelley Arnold in the Empowering Teaching Center for Empowering Teaching Excellence at Utah State University for helping us with all the logistics for this conference. We couldn't do it without her. She's awesome. Also, Elisa Taylor and Neil Legler, they'll be doing some breakout sessions on Canvas. They are here in the department that helps you with all the Canvas stuff, City. They do a great job and we're grateful to have them. Also, Russ Wynn from the English department will be presenting an AI breakout session for those who don't have department sessions. And I think we'll just get started. We've got just a couple of reminders that I wanted to make sure that we shared with everyone. Just as instructors at your high school for concurrent enrollment, just a reminder that these are college courses that are taught at the high school. And we get questions about that every so often from teachers who are like, well, can I just do my own thing and teach it how I want to, as long as I'm meeting the state or the high school requirements? Just a reminder, these are college courses, Utah State courses that are taught at your high school. And so we need to kind of follow those department learning outcomes for the courses and USU policies and things like that. But we try to make it as easy as possible as we can for you. We did have some questions that were submitted by people as they were registering for the conference, and I tried to respond to most of those for you individually. A lot of them were about registration, so we thought we would kind of hit those for a minute and talk about some instructor resources. Just a reminder, the best thing you can do is to treat your students like college students. They are taking these college classes, and so they need to be responsible for completing their assignments, establishing, expectations for them and helping them to meet those expectations. This isn't just a hard high school class, it's a college course, and so they need to take some responsibility for their work and feel successful and feel like they can succeed when they move on to college, either tech school or university or whatever they choose to do. We just want them to know that they can be successful. With that in mind, please help us remind your students that they need to register for credit with Utah State University. Just because they've registered at their high school or added this class to their schedule doesn't mean they're automatically registered with USU. For the college credit that they're hoping to get. We publish all of the registration deadlines on our website, just right on the main page, concurrent.usu.edu. And we do have reminders that we send out to counselors and our point of contact at each of the high schools, reminding them that deadlines are coming up. But we don't know who the students are, particularly they're planning to take the class, so we can't remind them. So just remind them they need to register by those deadlines. And also, if they choose to drop the course at the high school, they choose to leave your class for some reason, make sure that they also drop that class with Utah State. Every trimester or semester, we have a few students who neglect to drop with Utah State, thinking that just because they dropped at the high school, they're automatically dropped at Utah State. And then they end up with a grade that they don't want in that course, or they have to jump through some hoops to get it removed from their transcript. So just please make sure to help remind them a couple of times during that registration period, which leads us to the topic of USU Canvas. I know it's not a super exciting topic for some of you, but we have asked that our instructors teaching USU concurrent enrollment courses utilize USU Canvas for their courses. If it's absolutely impossible for you to do that, too much work to maintain two Canvas instances, district and USU, if you're teaching kind of a non-pure concurrent enrollment class, we ask that you at least put one assignment in your USU Canvas course so that you can check to make sure all of your students that are sitting in your classroom have actually registered for USU credit. Elisa and Neil have, their department has created a lot of great resources to help you move course information from your district Canvas to the USU Canvas, and they'll talk a little bit more today about kind of intermediate tips on that, and moving grades and moving content and things like that. And they're always happy to help there. But that the Utah System of Higher Education and the Utah State Board of Education have also asked that high school concurrent enrollment instructors utilize the institution's Canvas platform, especially to help with those registrations. So we want to just make sure that kids get credit for the courses that they're taking. So just a few other resources that we have for you as instructors. We do have an entire page on our concurrent enrollment website dedicated to instructor information and resources. So just at our main website, there's a tab that says for instructors. Our instructor handbook is there, information about accommodations for any of your students who may need that. That's on there, grading policies. And if there's anything that you have questions on about course content or learning outcomes for that particular course, you're welcome to contact our office. We'll probably refer you to your faculty liaison for any course content and learning outcome questions. But for questions on policies, new instructor approvals, grade entry, registration, scheduling, all that kind of stuff, please contact our office. You can email us at our main email address, which is concurrent@usu.edu. You're welcome to email me directly if you have a specific question. We are always happy to help or point you in the right direction if you need something. And then one last thing on that, the Center for Empowering Teaching Excellence, their website is there. You would have received the calendar invitation for today's conference from them, but they also have a lot of professional development opportunities, and Shelley can help you with that as well. One question that we've been asked a lot recently that we thought we'd address here in this general session is the new Senate Bill 334 that was recently passed by the state legislature. It is referring to a new Center for Civic Engagement at Utah State University and kind of a review of general education. We've had a lot of questions about how that might impact concurrent enrollment. Just so you know, concurrent enrollment courses that fulfill USU general education requirements are going to continue business as usual for the foreseeable future, definitely for the 25-26 school year. Nothing will change. Everything will be exactly as it has been and as you've been planning on it. The Concurrent Enrollment Office, we are engaged in conversations about State Bill 334 on campus, and we will continue to have discussions with those who are making decisions on that as we move forward over the coming months and years. And we will definitely keep the high school administrators and district administrators informed of any changes that will occur in the future for the concurrent enrollment program and for any of their policies. I'm going to stop sharing this. I think if Harrison jumped on here, Harrison Kleiner is our Vice Provost for Undergraduate Education and also General Education. And he is here to just offer a little clarity on that for you as well. And since there's so many people on here, Harrison, I'm just going to let you take it away. I don't even know where you are on your picture on here.
Thank you, Tony, and thanks for inviting me to come. First, I just want to say thank you to all of the concurrent enrollment instructors and the faculty at USU who work with concurrent enrollment for all of the great work you're doing in our high schools. You know, concurrent enrollment is a really important priority for us. You're partners with us in giving students their first experience of higher education. So really grateful for all of the great work that you do. Yeah, there's been a lot of questions. There's been a lot of interest. There's been some concerns about Senate Bill 334, which creates a new Center for Civic Excellence and will lead to a reform of our general education. It's really early days in this. There's a lot of work for the faculty to do to build this out and to determine what exactly this is going to look like. I wanted to offer a couple points of clarification. Whatever it ends up looking like in its detail, USU is still obligated to comply with USHE board policy R470. So we'll still have all of the same general education categories that we have now and that all of the other public institutions of higher education have in the state. So whatever future iteration we have, it'll still fit into those categories. So we'll still have ease of transfer in and out of Utah State and all of these kinds of things, whatever comes. As you might expect, building this out is going to be a complicated, big job. And none of it is going to happen overnight. So for concurrent enrollment, my message to you today is be assured we won't be making any changes to concurrent enrollment general education offerings for the foreseeable future. We're first going to try to stand this thing up at the Logan and statewide at the USU campuses. Only once we've done that are we going to then turn to the question of what does this mean for how we might adjust how we do concurrent enrollment. And when we do that, we'll be engaging with all of the relevant concurrent enrollment stakeholders to talk through what will work and what won't work and what this will need to look like. I expect then that any concurrent enrollment discussion related to SB 334 will be years down the road. So like by foreseeable future, I mean years down the road. So for now, keep calm and carry on, right? Like keep doing the great work that you're doing, whether it's English 1010 and 2010, Chem 1010, whatever all the great gen ed courses and other concurrent enrollment courses that you're teaching at our high schools, keep up the amazing work. And when the time comes to think about what Senate Bill 334 means for concurrent enrollment, we'll have a big conversation, involving everyone so we make sure that we get it right and we serve our students well. Thank you. Thank you all for your great work.
Perfect. Thanks, Harrison. Appreciate you joining us and sharing that extra information. So, all right. Well, thank you everyone for coming and for participating today. We've got a lot of great resources for you, a lot of great people to share information with you. We are going to start with our keynote speaker, Jenny Wilmore. Jenny is, I'm going to read her bio here. Jenny is the Assistant Director of the Center for Academic Belonging and Learning Excellence at Utah State University, affectionately known as ABLE. She oversees student success programming like the concurrent enrollment courses, USU 1120, Habits for Student Success, and USU 1140, Life, College, and Career Readiness. We stumble over those all the time because we change the course numbers, but we're not changing them for a while. She studied Spanish and French at Snow College and then the University of Utah. She earned a master's in second language teaching and taught Spanish at Utah State for 18 years. She has experience with the tension teachers feel between content that needs to be taught and the students that may lack essential study habits. So she is dedicated to helping instructors find ways to integrate learning techniques and skills into their existing curriculum. She took many classes, concurrent enrollment classes at North Sanpete High School. Her 3 older children took them at Logan High School and her youngest at Green Canyon High School. Will probably continue taking concurrent enrollment classes. She lives in Logan with her husband and the youngest of their 4 children. We are so grateful to have Jenny here with us today. When she is done, we will go to the 2 Canvas breakout sessions. After that, we'll just come back together really quickly and be able and get you the resources you need to go to your department breakouts. So we'll turn the time over to you, Jenny. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Wonderful. I really appreciate having this opportunity. Like Tony said, my name is Jenny Wilmore, and I am the Assistant Director of the Center for Academic Belonging and Learning Excellence. I'm especially excited to talk about to this group of people because as it says here, this is our mission at the Center for Academic Belonging and Learning Excellence. Our mission is to help students maximize their academic success while attending class at Utah State University in a way that supports their becoming lifelong learners. Our center's mission is absolutely supported by and aiding by those of you who are teaching concurrent enrollment classes. You guys play an important role in helping high school students get ready, get a head start on maximizing their academic success as they're transitioning to college level work. And I brainstormed some of the things that you guys help with when it comes to getting students ready, getting them the adulting skills, getting them the executive function skills that they need to feel like they are competent, feel like they're confident as they begin their classes at their four-year institutions. You guys help to familiarize them with what college level work looks like and what higher academic expectations are. You also help to guide them in developing advanced time management and problem solving skills because you help them to adapt to being more self-directed learners. And you also help to build their confidence. There is a book that we use for one of our classes that's written by an author. Her name is Dr. Sandra McGuire. And she has an observation about preparing students for college that I have really loved. She says that if we warn students about how hard college is going to be without giving them any guidance on how they can prepare, it just scares them. It even makes college seem less accessible. She compares it to saying, it's like telling someone you have to breathe differently on Mars and then leaving it at that. And what I love about what you guys are able to do in your classes is you are able to kind of scaffold for your students what it means to go from being a child who is interacting with adults to being someone who is an adult who is interacting with adults. We have an instructor up here on the Logan campus. Her name is Tanya Triplett, and she has a really great way of reframing. She has noticed while she has been an instructor that a lot of students are afraid to come to office hours. And she found out that it was because they were being told by a lot of people in their middle school and high school years that they needed to develop all of these skills because once they got to high school, their college teachers weren't going to care about them anymore. And she has a wonderful way of reframing that. And she says, no, absolutely not. At college, we love to have people come and visit us in their office hours. We promote that healthy help-seeking attitude. But the change that happens isn't that no one is going to care about you. It's that someone is going to care about you as an adult. They're not going to care about you as a child. They're going to want to have an adult-to-adult conversation and not a child-to-adult conversation. So I see you guys as being such an essential link, playing such an essential role in preparing these students for a lot of their adulting skills when it comes to arriving here at school feeling prepared to begin their journey. However, I would imagine that your experience with high school students kind of mirrors a college instructor's experience when it comes to these productivity habits, when it comes to time management and planning and organization, which is, it just leaves everyone overwhelmed. If there's one thing I want you guys to take away from this presentation that you could share with your students, I hope that it is that feeling overwhelmed does not mean that you do not belong in college, that you do not have what it takes to succeed in college. Really, all being overwhelmed means is that our brains are kind of assessing the tasks that we have put on our calendar. It's taking a look at our schedules, it's doing the math, and it's saying, this doesn't add up. The things that you've given yourself to do and the hours you have in the day don't add up. It's not a sign that you're not cut out to do those things. It's not a sign that a student who is overwhelmed in their first couple of weeks of college or in their first couple of weeks of your concurrent enrollment class isn't cut out for college level work. What it means is that these prioritization skills, these organization skills, and these time management skills are going to be even more important. I imagine that feeling of being overwhelmed as being a lot more like, you know, when you're on the freeway or you're on a highway and you see one of those signs that says like, no service station for the next 200 miles. And you have to say to yourself, oh, I better stop and I better get some help. I better check my gas. I better make sure we've got enough water bottle. I better make sure my kids take a bathroom break. Feeling overwhelmed is a cue to me that I need to practice that good help-seeking behavior, and I especially need to dig into those skills that have to do with productivity. Feeling overwhelmed is in no way a sign on the side of the road that says this is a dead end and this is not going to take you anywhere. So what can we do for our students who are feeling overwhelmed? How can we, because again, like I said, I am aware of the fact that the idea of putting some more of this content, teaching your students how to be aware of their time and their productivity and their goals and their organization can be frustrating when you yourself feel overwhelmed with your schedule. So I would like to go over some things that I think would be really helpful for you as instructors so that you can help your overwhelmed students without yourselves feeling overwhelmed. The first thing I want to do is I want to talk about the different support networks that are available so that we can get the kind of content, we can get the kind of information that we need and that our students need. And the second thing I want to do is I want to talk about our why, really dig into the why behind our productivity and time management policies. And if there aren't ways that we could be doing a better job of explaining to my students why I have the time management, the policies I do, the organization, the deadline policies that I do in my classroom. So first of all, I want to remind you guys, always check to see what resources are available at your school. All of your schools will have some kind of advisors, some kind of peer mentors or peer tutors, after school homework help, or college and readiness. I want you to recognize that the training of your students to develop those executive function skills, those time management skills, doesn't have to fall entirely on you. A lot of times when we identify these resources that are available to us already at our schools, we will recognize and realize that someone has already created the exact resource that we needed, has created the handout, has created the class, has already created some kind of module or some kind of lesson that we could use. I also want to make sure that you're aware of a couple of Utah State University resources that we have available. The first is this academic resource finder. And the academic resource finder is a great tool. It's a great, like a clearinghouse of all of the different kinds of resources that students have access to here at the university. Some of them will be more relevant for your students and some of them will be less relevant for your students, but I really encourage you to take a look at them. Look at all of the things that Utah State has available for students. Go ahead and click through of them. I especially feel like these first two tiles with the motivation, planning, and time and improving study habits, these are things that could be universally applied to any of your students. So I encourage you to check that out, find those resources. You may find things that you can incorporate right into your classes. Also, I want to point out to you that the webpage for CAPS, which is the Counseling and Prevention Services website here at Utah State. They also have a wonderful resource. I really like up here on this tab under groups and workshops. If you go to recorded workshops, they have a whole library of recorded little mini lessons and sessions that their professionals have done, helping to walk students through some of the issues that they sometimes face as they try to apply these productivity skills and try to develop better organization. A lot of them are just 3 to 5 minute videos, which are perfect for you just to be able to drop into one of your lessons or include in a Canvas module. The next resource that I wanted to share with you is a set of study skill sheets that we have here, we've created here at the Center for ABLE. This is found on a neighboring page to the academic resource finder, but I have included a link that goes right to this Study Smart Starter Kit, which is in itself a study skills sheet that students can use to kind of see how to move through the study cycle, which emphasizes the fact that it's not a finish line, it is a cycle. And then if you go over here to the right, you'll see that there are drop-down boxes. And for example, under Persist, I can click on this on managing your time. And there's a handout that has been already created by our office. These handouts we have found to be so useful for starting a conversation, for prompting a conversation, building a little lesson about it. Sometimes you can just passively post it on your Canvas page. We really like to print them off and put them outside our office for students to have access to them if they'd like to take them with them. So that's another, I think, really valuable resource that you guys have access to that has been prepared and is ready for you. One more that I wanted to show you is one that maybe could be something a little bit more specific to your students. And this is that we also, as learning specialists here in the Center for ABLE, we love to come and give learning specialist presentations. We love to visit with students and do presentations where we take one of these study skills, and that could be a time management, it could be an organization, prioritization. Do a little activity with them and talk to them about the skills that they could develop. If you are in Cache or Box Elder counties, we have the ability to come and do this in person. If not, we love to do them and are prepared to do them over Zoom, or even as pre-recorded options that you could identify some of the things you'd like us to go over. We could prepare a presentation for you and we will send it to you. If you are interested in this, please fill out this Qualtrics form that we have. Even if you don't end up finding something that's interesting or something that works out for you, just get into the Qualtrics form and just explore around there and see what kinds of things we have available that we really already have put together in order to be able to help you and your students. So asking for help is a really important skill, just like we want our students to learn that healthy help-seeking attitude and skill and ability when they feel overwhelmed. I think it's really important that we recognize that we also need to sometimes reach out for the resources that are around us, resources that have already been created. And it's just good for us to model for our students that we are reaching out and we are involving other people in their community and in your community that can help to support you when it comes to making sure that your students have these resources. Okay, so the next thing that I would like to do is after having shared all of these resources that are available for you, is I would like to kind of get to the bottom of why it is so frustrating for us to deal with these student productivity issues. Why is it so frustrating when students do not meet their deadlines, or when they're not organized enough to find their worksheets, or when they have not prioritized the lessons or the assignments that have the most point value? And I would like to say, I would bet, because to me, it seems like there are two options that are available to all of you. And those two options are very extreme options that kind of get you off the hook of having to be frustrated about this and having to worry about this. And the first one is that you really could, all of you probably have the option to just set a firm deadline and then say, if you don't meet this deadline, that's your problem. It's not my problem. You didn't turn things in when you were supposed to. You're going to face the consequences. The second option is just to let your students turn work in whenever they want to. Just say, you know what, we're not going to have any deadlines, whatever makes sense to you, turn things in whenever you would like to. I would imagine that none of you do that, and that you all instead find yourself somewhere along the spectrum of not wanting to say, I don't care about you as a student. This is a deadline, and a deadline is a deadline, and that's that. And I would also imagine that you find problematic the idea of just saying, you know what, whenever you would like to turn in your work, that's fine with me. So what I would like us to do is I would like us to stop, and I would like us to consider why. Why do you have the policies that you do when it comes to time management, when it comes to organization, when it comes to having your students meet deadlines and meet minimum requirements of neatness and organization? Why is that so important to you that you are also willing to put up with the frustration of students falling short of your expectations? And I would imagine that these 4 prompts, these 4 questions will probably start to give you guys an idea. It always has seemed to me like these questions start getting teachers thinking about why they have the attendance policies and the tardiness policies and the deadline policies that they do. So what I would like to do is I would actually like to send you guys into breakout rooms. I'm going to send you into breakout rooms. And so I want you to consider your why. Like, why is it that I have the policies that I do? Why don't I just say firm deadline, too bad, your problem? And why don't I just let them turn it in whenever they want to? because I am imagining that it's going to really kind of relate back to your teaching philosophy and your understanding of what your role is and what your relationship is with your students. So I am, like I said, going to send you guys into breakout rooms. I have never created so many breakout rooms. This is going to be fun. And so what I would like you to do is the two people that you end up in breakout rooms with, you should be in 2 or 3 groups of 2 or 3. I would like you guys to consider this. Why? Why do I care? Why don't I do one of these extremes? What is it about my idea of who I am as an instructor and who my students are as people that makes me choose these rules that I have set up? And then I'd like to come back afterwards to debrief. And I would like to have a little conversation and have you share. If during your breakout rooms, you guys have an insight, if you have a story that you would like to share, once you come back to the group, please do the raise your hand symbol, whatever little emoji thing. And I will call on as many people as I can, because I would love to hear your thoughts and what kinds of things you guys talked about while you were in your breakout room, and what kind of conclusions you came to about why you have the policies that you do related to personal productivity. Does anyone have any questions? I will see you guys in about 8 minutes then. All right, welcome back, everybody. I am going to let Mackenzie is the first one who raised her hand and said that she would like to let us know what they talked about in their group. So yeah, go ahead, Mackenzie, and share with us.
Thank you. It's been interesting seeing how each class dynamic can be different, like a different experience with like policies and deadlines and like how you interact with the students. I've had a very different experience fall versus spring semester, my group of kids. And so I have leaned a little bit more towards our school has a deadline policy and a lock date a week after that deadline in Canvas. And so for some of my assignments, that's the direction that I've went, where in the fall I was a little more flexible on deadlines, but I've noticed this group has not been turning in their work, and then you're missing out, you're not with us if you're always trying to play catch up and just getting it in, you're not engaging with us. So anyways, just been thinking about the differences in groups, but I learned something. I'm a school counselor full-time and then I teach, but communication studies. This is too long, I'm so sorry. But I learned about why we procrastinate and like the center of the brain that activates when we decide to procrastinate. And it's the same center of the brain that lights up as if you were giving the task to somebody else completely. It gives you that relief, that dopamine, that like, sense of someone else has got this, future me has got this. And so I get why our students procrastinate when they're in a rigorous class or just handling the stresses of school, but, helping them to kind of name it when they're feeling it and giving them, the support and encouragement to stick with it, to stay with us, and to not put it off for another time.
Really quick. Yeah. So my name's Shaylin Drake. I teach for aviation up here at USU. I actually am on the Price campus and focus on drones, but our group, we had people, I felt like a huge variety, which also meant we had a huge variety of policies. And I think that that's probably an important perspective to remember, that everybody has their different policies and reasons that they're doing it. And I liked the focus on why, because everybody has a different why. And that's, I think, valuable to see all the different perspectives. So that was kind of cool to see in my group.
Anybody else want to share? Looks like Jenny's given up and gone looking for another microphone. If you do have something to share from your group, feel free to just vote it out. We can't see everybody's hand raising. So
Hey, I'm gonna throw Gig under the bus. Gig, tell us what you were talking about. I think your idea was pretty cool.
All right. I feel those tire treads. I have a USU accounting class, but I apply it in my social studies and business and law and hospitality and other subjects. What I tell the students is there's a deadline to build on the knowledge for presentation or assessment or something like that. Very easy in accounting. You're building financial statements. But what I tell the students is I'm going to compare their late work to what was turned in on time, for the purpose of being fair to the students who did not binge the office that night and they got their homework in or whatever. And when I compare that, I'm comparing it. Did you need the extra time? Did you need the days or the weeks? Did your presentation add an extra page, additional interviews, a holographic image, something that says, you know what, I needed more time because I'm deep diving on this. If not, then they get a lower grade because of being off track. But often I find the students do look for, okay, it's late. I'm going to add one more reference. I'm going to add a picture. I'm going to, do something more so that I can still get full points from when I was supposed to have it. And that's the story.
Yeah, I love that because what you're doing then is you are making sure that your philosophy of why you wanted them to turn their work in on time, why it was important to you, you're recognizing that there actually might not be a mismatch, that maybe some of the things that you were hoping that they were doing, and that's why they turned it in late, which I think is why it's so important for us to stop and ask ourselves, is it for my own, because my own convenience? Or is it because, like I said in some of the prompts, is it because I anticipate that you are going to have additional responsibilities that are going to build up, that you're going to need to continue. For example, I taught Spanish for 18 years. I could sometimes see the kinds of the waves that were coming. And I could see that if a student had fallen behind, that they were going to have a hard time with whatever material was coming up in the content matter. I think that same thing applies when it comes to our study skills and when it comes to our time management. Sometimes we know that their study skills and their abilities and their ability to organize themselves is going to need to start ramping up, just like their content level skills are going to need to ramp up. We're trying to get them to where we know they need to be to enter school when it comes to Spanish. I know where my students need to be when it comes to entering school in Spanish. But I think most of us will recognize that the policies that we are establishing in our classes are also trying to get our students where they need to be when it comes to their productivity skills. So the next thing that I have for you guys that I would like you to consider, I want to do the same thing. I want to send us all to breakout rooms again. But this time, what I've done is I have a document in the chat, and I've had to trade computers with Heidi because I don't know why my audio is not working right now. But if Heidi will just send that chat, I have a document that has some language that I think will be easy for you guys to just insert into your assignments, into your Canvas, for you to start saying, now that I understand what my reasoning is behind wanting these policies, wanting my students to be prepared, wanting them to do things on time, wanting them to be organized, I need to figure out ways to let them know that those organizational skills are a part of what we are learning, what we're practicing, and what I'm assessing. So I have sent that document to all of you in the chat, and it just has little blurbs. It has something you could include in the syllabus. It has something that you could include as a module. It has just one line little things that you could put into the instructions for an assignment or for an assessment that you already have. And just so that you can articulate to your students and start making them aware of this fact that you consider time management to be a skill that you're building in them alongside the content knowledge that you're building with them. So I'm going to have you do the same thing. I'm going to send you out into breakout rooms, probably for not quite as long, maybe about 5 minutes. And let's see if you can think of some activities or assessments that your students really tend to struggle with getting in on time, and how you could put language into the instructions that could help them to recognize that that's a skill that you want them to practice and that you want to be able to assess and give feedback on, just like you're letting them practice and get feedback on those content skills and that content information. All right, for those of you who are coming back, I am going to ask if there's anyone who would like to share with us what you learned in your breakout rooms, anything that anyone shared that really resonated with you, any insights that you had about how you might be able to just sneak little bits of information about time management, or even just connecting the role that time management is playing in helping your students become learners, that you could put into an assignment, or you could put into an assessment or your syllabus, or something that already exists, so that you wouldn't have to make time for something new. You would just be adding it to something that you already are asking your students to do. If not, then hopefully, I just want to review the takeaways from this. Hopefully you will remember to rely on your support network. Remember that there are professionals surrounding you at your schools and also here at Utah State who have created some amazing resources. And just like Tanya Triplett was talking about, how most professors love to have their students come and visit them during office hour, I think most of these resources that are up here on Utah State's website are people who genuinely are excited when someone comes and asks for help with something that they have such an expertise in and that they're so good at. And also, I'm hoping that by asking yourself why, by identifying the why for your policies, and also finding what ways of communicating that why with your students, that it has sparked you some ideas for how you could communicate the value of time management and productivity and organization as skills that you want your students to know that they also need to be developing along with your content matter skills, so that they can set themselves up for success when they come here on campus and they really do feel like they belong here academically, and they do feel like they have the skills to be successful. So this is the name of our center up here, the Center for Academic Belonging and Learning Excellence. If there's anything that we can do to help you, to support you in any way with your students, we would love to do that. I don't know if Tony would like to take the last 3 minutes, or if Heidi would like to take the last 3 minutes to.
That'd be great.
Something.
Heidi, if you have anything you want to share, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'm going to say just hang on while Shelley gets everything ready for the 2 Canvas breakouts. We'll go over those titles again really quick. But Heidi, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I will just add that some of the things that we are seeing in our college students, new college students, we talk a lot about habits of mind, and one of the habits of mind that we wish students would develop is help seeking. And there's a variety of reasons that students are afraid to seek help or to seek out resources. But anything that you can do to help students recognize that in college, they're not going to be approached as often about, hey, we know you probably need this resource, or hey, we know that you could benefit from this. But rather, they're the ones who seek out those resources. And 2 things that I tell professors here is never call them free. Those resources aren't free. They cost a lot of money from those students, right? So say you're paying for those resources. You're paying for office hours. Utilize what you're paying for. And then the other one is to not say, there's things if you're struggling with writing. There's things if you are tutoring if you struggle with math. But rather, there's tutoring for students who want to do well in math. there's a writing center for students who want to be good writers or to improve their writing, and use that positive language that helps to break down, instead of them thinking, oh, if I seek that, I'm admitting that I'm not good at things. Rather, I'm just admitting I want to be good at things. I want to be better at things. And so using that kind of language in high school, especially a college class in high school, can really help prepare them to then have better help-seeking behaviors and habits of mind once they get here. So thank you all for what you do. As a mom of a concurrent student, I know that some of her teachers are on here. Thank you. It just means a lot that you take the time to really be the bridge for these students and open those doors of possibility for them. So appreciate it so much.
So
Thank you, Heidi.
oh, good. My microphone's going to work. You guys are welcome to use that document that I gave you any way you'd like. It is not proprietary.
That is awesome. And I was just going to
Tony,
mention
could I say
that
something?
not all of the resources at Utah
Yes,
State
no.
are free to concurrent enrollment students, but the ABLE office is happy to provide you with resources as an instructor that you can then help your students. We do have, for those who teach math or stats classes as concurrent enrollment, there is the math Aggie Math Learning Center. I lost the name from that acronym for a minute. The Aggie Math Learning Center is free to the concurrent enrollment students. It is available to the concurrent enrollment students. The chemistry department is also offered to allow the chemistry 1010 concurrent enrollment students to take advantage of their tutoring options. You'll probably need to get a little bit more information from them. And then the English, the writing lab is a resource for the English teachers that are teaching concurrent enrollment courses. So if you have any questions at all about resources on campus and if they're available to you, please just reach out. Sorry, Stu, I cut you off. Did you have a question for us?
I am rarely cut off.
Never cut off. You're always welcome to speak, Stu.
I'm just going to say that, you know, having done this for 50 years, I'm going to cast a mild criticism of the university folks. One of the primary differences between what students get here from the high school teachers is we really, I'm not saying they don't, but we really do care about our young people. And I believe that if university professors would be more inclined to let young people know that they really do care about them and their learning, that would serve our young people doing much better than perhaps they might at the university level. Our kids here at Skyview did monumentally well in concurrent classes, and we have marvelous, you know this, Tony, extraordinary folks who do this, but it's, you know, having taught at the university, sometimes university professors don't care nearly as much about young people and their learning as we do.
At least it doesn't come across quite the same way.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Stu. I also will say that we have made a very concerted effort in the last 5 years to try to really change that narrative. And I think that you will find that there's a lot more sense of caring, sense of belonging, sense of support from the majority of faculty here at USU compared to 10, 15 years ago.
I hope that's the case, because I think some of us care more about content than we do about.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, thank you, everybody. We want to jump to our next session. We've got 2 breakout sessions for you. One is concurrent enrollment grade transferring and exporting your district Canvas content to a USU Canvas platform. And Elisa Taylor, who's the assistant director for the Center for Instructional Design and Innovation, City, will lead that breakout session. And Neil Legler, the director for City, will lead a breakout session on intermediate Canvas resources and tools. Last year, and I think the year, well, actually, they've done a breakout session for us every year, but we are now progressing from beginning Canvas skills to intermediate. So based on everyone's responses. So Shelley, guide us through this breakout thing, and hopefully we all get where we need to go, and then we'll come back right at 4:30, and then we'll give you some instructions about how to go to your department breakouts.
do want to get Russ up and started to discuss AI. So Russ, I'm going to pass it over to you and I'll make you a co-host.
I feel so fancy being a co-host. Thank you. Okay. Hey, folks. My name is Russ Wynn. I am a lecturer for the Department of English up at Utah State. I teach 2010, 1010. I've helped pilot the English 2020 program that we're doing up here, the professional writing version of that. I teach Shakespeare literature courses. I teach the curling class. So I have my fingers in a lot of desserts. So I was one of the early sort of people up here who was willing to tackle this complex thing that we're all worried about now, AI. If I could just share my screen really quickly. Let me just get this running. Okay, so I want to talk about tools in AI education, but I also want to sort of frame the way that I think that we should all be looking at the problem nowadays, because I think that the way that a lot of us, at least at USU, I can't speak for you certainly, but even though it's only been a few years, a lot of the views on AI have become antiquated, and that's frustrating and a little bit problematic. So the problem that I'm trying to explore is that when we talk about AI, typically it kind of trickles down into one of two things. It's either hyperbole, meaning, oh, it's Skynet AI is going to take over, it's going to gain sentience, and it's going to take over the world, and it's going to cost us all of our jobs, and things like that. Or it's hype. AI is the wave of the future, and it's going to lead us to, you know, the singularity is going to happen, and it's going to lead us to this promised land of different economy and stuff like that. And I feel like neither of those obviously is true. I mean, people are notoriously bad at predicting the future. But also, I think that I'm frustrated by that because I think it's our job as educators to communicate a little bit more nuance than that, right? So what happened initially is AI comes out 2001, 2002, or 22, excuse me, 2022, it starts to trickle forward. In 2023, it gets some legs under it. I mean, it's been in creation for the past 60 years, but the LLMs that we're talking about, the large language models, right? And everybody starts to freak out because they don't know how to talk about these things. So, well, who then tells us how to talk about them? The people that made them, the corporations that created them, and their marketing departments, right? So all the language that we adopted at that point became about selling these things on us and became unhelpful. Yes, there were computer engineers that knew how these things worked and knew how to talk about them well, but in a computer engineer's mind, they're sort of in on the joke, right? Well, I know how AI works, and I know how it's not human. We shouldn't try and marry it and all that, but I can talk about it in the way that other people do. And since I'm in on the joke, that's okay, right? Well, I'm not sure that is okay. And the frustrating thing is that's kind of stuck around in our culture. We've missed a lot of the advances that it's come, especially this past December, it's jumped pretty significantly. And we've also, I would say that the people in this room, a lot of us bear a little bit more an outsized responsibility, right? Because you're teaching the people of the next generation how to talk about this stuff. So the reality, the best way to focus on this now is the terminology AI generated and AI assisted. And there are a couple reasons for this. And I think that the practical one is, the down-to-earth one is that the US Copyright Office has rules in place that say that AI generated content is not subject to copyright. If you have AI write an essay for you and it does it and that's it, it's not protected by copyright. So plagiarism cases and all that come in, and that's problematic. However, if you have AI help you write an essay, if you ask it to make an outline, if you ask it to do some editing for you, if you go in and you change things, it is protected under copyright law. It's called AI assisted. So the first thing that students need to understand is the difference between those two things. Because a lot of times the attitudes that we have in our society that are frowning on AI are actually frowning on AI generated content, not necessarily AI assisted content. For some reason, the same people who think, oh, you shouldn't have AI write your essay, that's bad, think, oh, well, it's good if you have it help you generate an outline and things like that. And I'm generalizing. There are certainly people that don't fall into that. So maybe this is a better way to think about it initially. More practically, I do think it falls on us to demonstrate to model three things, right? And whether you like it or not, however you feel about AI or not, you know, we have to admit that these students are looking to you to us for guidance. And we kind of have three responsibilities. We need to show that we know how to use AI, at least on a level as good as they do, so that we can be competitive. And often that means having them show us what they're doing with it. It moves so quickly. We need to show that we are fluent with it. The first question a student asks now who's big into this stuff, and it's going to get worse, is if they're faced with something you want them to do, the first question they're going to ask is, how can I use AI to make this assignment obsolete, this activity obsolete? How can I get around this with AI? The laziest approach possible. And I'm sure tons of you have stories about that. Happens all the time, right? And then in addition to that, if we're fluent enough to be able to navigate those situations well, then it's up to us to show what responsible use would look like in a high school setting, in a university setting, in a job, things like that. And that can be included having discussions about ethics and plagiarism, things like that. But my presentation today is going to focus on the way students use AI, some suggestions on how you can use AI. And I've got some sample assignments, and then there'll probably be a little bit of room for questions and discussions at the end. I think we're going till 5:30, and I can talk. I love to hear myself talk, but I don't want to talk for 45 straight minutes. So yeah, let's start with reading. AI literacy in general, students are using it for the following things. They have a hard time talking with authority figures, so they'll talk to an AI instead. So in a lot of cases, AI becomes this guidance, right? They turn them into tutors. I can demonstrate that for you in a minute. They'll use it to work with each other. They'll use social annotation, and I'll talk about how that works. A lot of the annotation that we do nowadays and the interaction with texts mirrors a group chat, and you'll see that if you were in Neil Legler's presentation a minute ago, he showed you all hypothesis. That's a really good example of that. And then there are efficiency cuts, like shortcuts that you can take with this. Things like automating grading, streamlining administrative tasks, but you kind of have to make that, you have to draw that line, right? You have to ask yourself, if I have it auto grade, is that okay? If I have it do auto feedback, is that okay? Is AI generated in that case good? Or would AI assistant be appropriate? Or should it just come from me? So those are always case by case, right? But there are definitely some things that educators can do to make this stuff more efficient for them. As far as readings go, students right now, and I'm sure some of you have some wonderful stories, they're summarizing readings with this. They're converting readings into things that they can understand. I have students right now in my professional writing course who really have been told and think that How to Win Friends and Influence People, that old book from the 30s, is just this Bible of how to become a social animal, right? If you want to be successful in business, you read this book and you go out there and whatever. But the way that it's written in the 30s, it's like impenetrable to some of them. They can't even get through it. So some students will use it, you know, to make it more accessible. And also students with disabilities, if you have dyslexia or learning disability in that sense, this can be a game changer. And then they'll also use AI to find needles in haystacks. This technology changes so quickly that they're starting to gatekeep that. But if you have a quiz question about something in a reading, they can search for that thing in the reading a little bit more quickly with AI, because the AI might not even need the reading, right? So just to demo this really quickly, if you can see, I have my phone in my hand up on my camera, right? I'm going to go ahead and, oh, it's probably too bright, right? I'm going to turn on the ChatGPT voice app and just demonstrate what this can look like. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. What's up?
I am planning a lesson for a college English course, and I am thinking about teaching a text. I'm going to turn on the camera. Will you tell me if you can see the stack of books that's on my desk?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, can you see those books?
Yes, I can see them. I see Blood Meridian on top. What others do you have there?
Why don't you tell me?
Sure, I see Absalom, Absalom by William Faulkner, When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi, and Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by Robert Pirsig. Great choices.
Thank you. I'm thinking about teaching a lesson on Blood Meridian in my literature course. Could you give me maybe 2 or 3 sample activities that I could use in a class of about 20-25 students?
Absolutely. For Blood Meridian, you could start with a close reading activity. Have students analyze a specific path.
And it's going to go on like that, right? I advocate getting that app. That's just the ChatGPT app. I do have a paid version of it, but it can see through your camera now. It told me some wonderful things about mixed drinks I could make with my liquor cabinet, and it also told me some pretty shocking things about what I should do with the stuff in my fridge. But it is really useful now. You can turn that on, set it on a magnet on your dashboard. I will use it on my way to work to just kind of talk my way through lectures I might be giving, have it bounce feedback back and forth, things like that. But students are going to leverage that in a lot more complex ways, right? We need to acknowledge that as far as reading is concerned, you know, there was a series of studies done in like, I think it was like 2009, 2010. Researchers were getting kind of nervous about Google because the algorithm takes over in 2005. So we have YouTube and Google and Amazon and all that dictating all these choices for us. But Google becomes the sum of all human knowledge, sort of, at that point. And so people started Googling things instead of researching them or learning about them, right? So there was a trio of studies that came out, and the scientists discovered that like users of internet search engines way back in 2011 did not retain information gleaned through Google as well as people who learned information offline, right? It's almost like people and their computers were becoming like interconnected systems. So my phone now functions as a part of my brain. They call this digital amnesia now, where if you can't remember something and you Google it, your brain doesn't have to remember that kind of thing anymore. It's just the tendency to forget information that you find online because you don't need to remember it. You can go back and get it, right? That's one thing. And that's made Google the most trafficked website on the planet. But our AI is supplementing it and supplanting it. A lot of us have students that don't even use Google anymore, that ask all of their questions just to an AI instead. And as problematic and as difficult as that can be, there have been advances so that they don't hallucinate and things like that as much. Now, it's more about AI doing our critical thinking for us, right? Because we don't necessarily have to plan our days. We don't have to make harder choices at work. AI can demonstrate that it can do critical thinking for us, right? And reading is a part of that, right? Similarly, writing, students that don't use AI well will use it to write essays. If you have a discussion forum that's post-response on Canvas or something like that, they'll use AI to write the responses to that. They'll copy paste student work into the AI and have it respond as if it's a student, and then they'll clean it up a little, and there you go. If you have them do personal entries, you know, tell narratives, things like that. I've had students try and pass off a story from ChatGPT as a narrative that they did, and it didn't really hold up to scrutiny very well, right? As soon as you start asking questions. They'll also use it to make outlines, which is really good. They'll use it for spelling and grammar, which can be a game changer for a lot of students with learning disabilities. And they'll also use it to cite sources, which is, in my mind, excellent. And that's something we could talk about as well. As far as analysis is concerned, and all 3 of these, in my mind, are interrelated to critical thinking. right? Critical thinking can seem kind of nebulous, and people outside of education can make it seem insignificant, like it doesn't matter, or it's a political thing, stuff like that. But when you compare loan terms, or for a house, or look at car insurance rates, or try and decide whether you're going to give a website your clicks and your money, you're thinking critically. I know you all know that. It's not just about people in my discipline think about it in terms of poetry and books and stuff like that. AI can do all those tasks for you, and pretty proficiently, right? So it has replaced Google. They'll use it to take quizzes and write responses. They'll use it to comb through data. They'll use it to tutor themselves on subjects and to record things. There were multiple educators in this session today that had AI record a transcript of I'm probably being recorded right now, so that they can use it to summarize it later, poop it out in nice little bullet points, right? And though there is a convenience to that, and I'm not arguing against it, we have to draw a line somewhere about where we step in to encourage critical thinking. I think the good news is that we've been fighting this battle for a long time. I think the best of us have always been mindful of what it takes to think critically, what questions we can ask to motivate students, right? In my mind, that starts with community, getting students into a place where they're all in something together, the smaller classrooms and things like that. As far as writing's concerned, things like process-based writing. I do physical journaling in my classes. I did that before AI came out, because I learned that students aren't really comfortable being alone with themselves anymore. They can be alone with their phone, but not themselves. And so if you give them prompts and give them a pencil or a stylus and just have them write with no phone in front of them, there's research that suggests that the thinking pathways are different and arguably underdeveloped now, and it can be really valuable for them. Similar thing with revising. English teachers who teach document creation that have a heavy revision process that break that down and then scaffold it, that can be incredible. If you're worried about students not doing the readings, it's no worse than before. It's just a little bit more convenient for them. But whenever I'm not sure what to do, it's got to go back to a text-centered discussion. I'm less worried about quizzes and things like that, and I'll show you why in a minute, than I am about get the text out in front of everybody and look at lines, right? Or look at specific things, because then you can bring in context and things like that. AI can do that, but in-person instruction that encourages them to do that there can be really valuable. Just like people are recording this lecture, students will take collaborative notes. We have professors up here that have decided, 20 years ago that they should stand up in front of a class for 15 minutes and just talk, just orate. And that's going to be this dissemination of knowledge that's going to change everything. And then students tune out after 20 minutes. Somebody in here made a really good suggestion of every 7 minutes breaking something up with a video. That was in another breakout, but I thought that was fantastic, right? But what if you opened up some Google Docs, had students take collaborative notes on the things you're learning in class, and then whenever somebody doesn't understand something, they can just put a little asterisk and say, I don't really fully understand this. Then you could copy paste those notes into ChatGPT, have it summarize them for you, and have it look for weaknesses in the presentation of the material. Do that in front of the class, then you'll know what needs to be covered better. It does take a little bit of practice, but there are multiple professors up here that do that, and they're really good at it. Students will use AI to take practice quizzes. I have students who in their other classes will upload the textbook to an AI, have the AI read the textbook, upload a copy of an old quiz that a teacher gave from the class, and then say, using the quiz that I just uploaded as a model, produce a quiz for the following chapter, and then they'll put the text in there. And then they will take that quiz over and over and over until they get it right, often without even having read the textbook. Now, that's an iterative approach, right? I think they should read the textbook, of course, but that is a good use of AI in my mind. They'll also use it for knowledge assessment to create learning plans. If they are overwhelmed with something, AI can really break it down for them in a scheduled way. I have to learn the following chapter for an exam next week. Can you break it down and give me a daily schedule for how many pages I should look at or for what topic I should read on each day? And then let's make a schedule out of that and maybe some note cards, things like that. AI can create tutoring prompts. I'll show you that now. This one comes from a student that I had that was just lovely. Let me see if I've got it pasted. No. Let's pull it. Oh, it's right here. So this came from a student that I have. And just to read it really quickly, it defines a role. You're an upbeat, encouraging tutor. What if you were to say, you are a high school teacher who helps students understand concepts in English or in math, whatever number. Start by introducing yourself. So then it's step-by-step instructions on how this thing should work. And then once it gets that, it's going to go through and it's just going to follow the instructions step by step. If you sit down with students and guide them through the creation of such a tutor, ask them what kinds of things do you have trouble learning? What in this class, what learning level is going to be best for you? It gives them a stake in this interaction itself. This is something that they could copy paste, put in a Word document and make into a gradable thing. A lot of students are already doing this in their classes now because, and often it results from them being dissatisfied with the instructor. My professor really isn't talking on my level and I don't understand all the words he's using in this biology class. Or, oh, they have a really thick accent, or I just can't pay attention because they talk too long, right? Right. So if you sort of lead them through the process of creating one of these, it really can be a valuable interaction that can sort of supplement your work. Let's see, where's my. So in addition to that, I did want to talk about a couple different tools that we have available at USU that are really valuable that can be something worth thinking about. The first is an initiative called Aggie AI. It's something that my department collaborated with Center for Instructional Design. That's Neil Legler's group, City. They are incredibly dedicated and awesome people. And so we were able to create an in-house writing app that we use that is being rolled out. Should be available for use no later than fall in Canvas courses. The second things are perusal and hypothesis. In his breakout room, Neil Legler talked about that hypothesis a little bit. They're kind of the same thing. I'd like to talk about them just a little bit. If you haven't seen them or really thought about them, you definitely should. Then I have a few lesson plans that I'd like to share, and then I'd like to open it up to finish off to see what kind of ideas you have, what frustrations, what things you'd like to talk about, and that's how we'll wrap up. So first of all, here is a real-time demonstration of the hypothesis tool. So this is a PDF loaded up into an app. They'll highlight it, they'll click annotate, it'll come up with their name, and then they're given guidelines based on assignments on how to talk about these things to meet expectations. So I use a different one, but I might say, I want you to read this text and I want you to annotate it 4 times. And when you annotate it, I want you to include at least 3 sources. And then I want you to respond to 2 other people's things. And that's the whole plan. These types of apps watch you grade with algorithms, watch you do the reading with algorithms. So students can either scroll through the text really slowly, or they can just read the damn thing and get a starter grade that way. Then it'll assign a second completion grade for if they meet the number of contents. It'll compile all that and send it to you so that you can go through the comments, decide what kind of grade they should actually get, and then either continue the discussion there or in class. I actually bring this up in class all the time and I say, oh, Nico Davis here, you said some really interesting things about Cultural forest. Let's expand on that a little bit. Students find that incredibly gravitating, and it organically incorporates one way they really like to communicate, which is group chats. If they treat this like a group chat, they're often very successful. Even if they're trying to jump through hoops, they still find themselves having to read the texts. Perusal functions the same way. This is a reading list that I had for a 2010 section several years ago. But I just uploaded different PDFs, some of which were from a book they purchased through the site, some of which were just individual PDFs that I uploaded myself, and had them look at it that way. Perusal and Hypothesis are separate apps. They open in separate windows, but they do pass grades back to Canvas. Like they'll sync. So it does help with the grading process as well. I find that I have to go through and audit a file once or twice a semester because somebody signed up wrong, or there's an issue with their account, or they opened it wrong. And so I just have to go through and audit a CSV, a comma separated Excel file, a couple times a semester rather than actually anything else. So my grading now is more relegated to reading their comments and then finding ways to validate those comments in my classes. And I love that. The last thing I would like to talk about really quickly before we get to that slide is Aggie AI Write. So Aggie AI Write, this is my 2020 section that I'm teaching right now. It integrates into Canvas. Again, it's not available yet, but we should have that rolled out by the fall so that people can start experimenting with that if they want to. But pretty much it just helps you. It has multiple options on what you could do with a writing. If you advocate using AI to do brainstorming, it will reach out to ChatGPT. It just pulls data from ChatGPT 4.0, and it will help you do the brainstorming in a way that USU has decided is appropriate. So if you put something like parking at USU, it'll generate 8 subtopics for you. It'll let you select those and then collate them. It's just kind of helping you figure out how to do those, and you can add the ones that you want, right? Then when you've got those in place, you can move to keywords. Brainstorming for keywords, this just generates a list of library approved, USU library approved useful keywords, so they could put the idea of personalized learning into a library search engine, and it's going to get good results, and it should give you an explanation as well. There it is. So it'll tell you what it is, and then they can copy paste this into the library search database to get better search results that way, so that they're not just giving a too broad search, things like that, right? The next section is a mind map. So once you have all of your searching and ideas in place, it's going to try and show you how those things connect and synthesize. You can view that in terms of a map that you can move around and look at, you know, like if you were to brainstorm something and draw circles, and I forget, well, that is a mind map, right? Yeah, look at how those things are connected. That's what that is. And after that, there's also an annotation tool that you can use. This just lets them, this is kind of for research papers. They can submit sources, add sources into this. They'll all appear down here. So that it helps them create an annotated bibliography that's then saved in the application for use with assignments the rest of the term or whatever. The synthesis matrix, once they have all their ideas and sources entered, this is just a tool that helps them look at how those things will mesh, like how those things are going to connect. I didn't load any data into this, but once you get all that done, it'll end in a table here that shows how those sources sort of touch bases together and how they synthesize. You can have it generate thesis and outlines for you if you'd like to. It's going to ask you what you're writing about. It's going to have you describe your essay in 1 sentence, and then it's going to have you list some bullet points that you might like to see in it, and it will give you a sample outline that students could then use. And then finally, there is a feedback generator as well. So once the essay itself is written, you can paste an introduction, a body, and a conclusion here. Right now it's built to accommodate slightly smaller essays, but it will give AI ChatGPT style feedback on the side here that they can then download and use. Now, the nice thing about this is as we were going through this, you probably saw some buttons that said submit. So these can be linked to existing Canvas assignments so that once students are done with the writing process and in the creation of this, they can then submit the interaction that they have with the AI so that you can give them an additional grade on that as well. That's largely a participation grade, just look and see if they did it. But I have had meetings with students where we sat down and looked at how what kind of feedback the AI told them versus what I would tell them. And those can be really valuable conversations as well. On the back side of things, there is the admin section on the AI Write tool. This is just where you set up which ones of these you want. If you want to use the annotation tool, if you want to use the feedback tool, and then within those tools, what kind of things do you want to see? So you can see how it does have options for focusing on some of the more common grammar usage issues that you can select and have it look for how they're using apostrophes or just put them all in. I had a team of experts that have taught the grammar class here at USU for several years. Give me a list of the most common grammar issues, currently the most common grammar issues in my speaking today, that they find in writing. And so we can have the AI look for that kind of thing too. And then there's just different types of options that you can set up for these different assignments in here. It's pretty big, it's pretty robust, it's something that you have to play around with. It is gone through years of testing and iteration, and it's something that we're all very proud of. Now, I'll be frank about it. It's not perfect. It's as good as AI can be, right? But it is something that can help teachers model the use of AI in healthy ways. I think the big bullet point on this slide, that idea of us learning how to balance technology with critical thinking, that in my mind has been the key to this. Students who use this in an iterative dialogic fashion where they go back and forth with it and they don't just say, make this for me, where they have it start something and then they become involved in the process, show a lot more use with this, because that is something that helps to develop critical thinking skills. And arguably, they can find even more success with this because the level of output you can produce with AI, if you're using it well, can be pretty staggering. So that's that. I do have a couple lesson plans that I'd like to sort of run by really quickly as I wrap up. A lot of instructors in high schools and in college have been doing something where you have AI write a 3-paragraph essay, and then you have students write a 3-paragraph essay, and you make sure that those things look sort of similar, and then you pass the 2 papers to someone else, and then you just have that discussion like, can you tell which one of these is written by AI and why? And then you can even make it into a game. Can the students get AI to write a paper that sounds more like them, and how did they do it? And the nice thing about that is it gets them to look at their own writing and the flaws that come with that, as well as the flaws of the AI. It's a really good assignment. I'll include this PowerPoint I'll make sure that I get that to Shelley so that that's posted. Another assignment is really valuable for me. You saw that tutorial that I ran you through really quickly. That came from an assignment that asks me to ask them to help me design AI study tools. So how are you using this in other classes? What kind of approaches do you use? Turn that into an assignment so that you can see the current things that the students that have spent the most time with this and that are the most up on this, that they're doing with AI. That's a really good way to get your foot in the door of AI. Have one of your students that knows a lot about it teach you about it. This makes a great presentation. It helps students kind of catch up with other students that are competitive in this, things like that. Like I said at the beginning of the presentation, critical media analysis, like the way that we talk about this stuff is a problem. So there is a blog called AI Snake Oil and it has this article about 18 pitfalls to be aware of in journalism. And it's the irresponsible ways that journalists talk about AI. Pretending it's human or going to be human. Doomsaying. Acting like it's more efficient and better than the people in the jobs already. Making assumptions, things like that. And it just has students find current event news, look at how that's written and what the headlines look like, and finding those pitfalls that they're using in there. This is a really useful assignment, especially if you have some discussions about it before and after. Bring up some websites, talk about how they're doing this poorly, and then use student created ones afterwards to talk about this. It's been one of the most incredible. I teach an AI and writing course, and it's one of the most incredible parts of the course because students, once they learn really how to talk about it, they're a lot more empowered. This is not for everybody, but there are large language model out there that are very small, that are very manageable, and that students can actually use to train their own. So this links to what's called a llama architecture. Llama is just like a different version of AI. It's just a platform, and it's untrained. You can upload texts to it of your own. Like I had a student upload all 7 Harry Potter books, and then they ran the training, and the AI learned how to talk, like how to communicate, but only with Harry Potter. So it can only say words out of the books and only use punctuation out of it. So it's just gibberish, right? But it can really help students understand the underlying processes. There is a small amount of coding involved. And that does, you sometimes, if you ever do this in a class that's not a CS class, you'll have students that are just cursed and that they hit the button and they didn't do anything wrong and it just explodes. So this one does take a lot of hands-on like interaction with students. And I did it in an English class, like a general English class a couple times, and it was a lot of work, but it was really valuable. So I don't know if I do it every time, but it's worth trying once. And it's out of a Colorado State publication. Again, I'll make sure that this link is made available. So that's me motor mouthing my way through a lot of stuff. I hope that you all have some, picked up some ideas, or you've come to a better understanding of how we at USU are trying to navigate this stuff. I have a few more thoughts, but before I do, what kind of questions or challenges or disagreements, anything you guys want to talk about? I've been looking forward to this the most. What can we talk about?
I don't know about for the teachers, but just as a general user, there's so many options now for AI tools. And you're like, which one should I use? Should I go with this one? Should I go with that one? And so I think that sometimes is a little bit overwhelming. Not that I'm teaching a class, but
it's incredibly overwhelming. It's super frustrating. So, and it's not just with AI. There's just so many stupid little apps that come out now. Have you ever seen Blumble? And it does this odd little thing, and then 3 students get excited about it, and then it's gone in a year. And so my answer for students, and I don't know how well this translates, because I think this might be, maybe Neil could weigh in. For CE, students have A numbers, is that correct? High school students do get A numbers. So USU does take steps to monitor and protect student data with their A numbers. They partnered with Microsoft. So the chat.bing.com, the Bing AI, what's it called? Oh, my brain.
Copilot.
Copilot. Neil, you're the best. Thank you.
Copilot.usu.edu.
So they can sign in with their A number. It gives them additional free uses. They pay student fees per day, so they get extra use out of it, and it gives up USU an opportunity to have an investment in their data. Other than that, there's a few we call them frontier models. Frontier models are the cutting edge ones. Honestly, a lot of them are moving away, like the newest versions of the newest versions. They're trying to build these large coding architectures, and they're trying to build these massive things called agents, which are like Siri on steroids. It's trying to assist you with everything. And will go through your browser and order things for you and navigate the web for you and stuff like that. So a lot of their energy's in that right now. And so the writing and the learning and the stuff that we're using it for, it's kind of in place. I don't really expect a lot more innovation there, which is nice. So that means as long as they're using one of the bigger models or one of the more specialized models, they're fine. But my default answer, Claude's really good. ChatGPT is really good. If they're a student, they should use Copilot.
Thanks. That's good.
So I gave you such a long answer and I should have just said that last thing.
Ah, it's perfect. Thank you. And like I said, I don't teach. I'm just like normal user and thinking, which one should I use? So that was great. Thank you.
And for what it's worth, just keep in your mind 10 hours. If you've used AI like seriously for 10 hours, you're probably fluent pretty well. Like that's about all it takes to get good with it. If you run into things where you try and get it to do something and it won't do it and you push back, that's good. That means you're kind of hitting the edges of it, the limitations of it, and you're teaching yourself what it can and can't do. And students that are comfortable with that, when they're running into limitations, they're trying to push it. That's what we should all be doing, because that's how you develop fluency. But the leading research right now suggests that 10 hours of dedicated usage is all you need to get good with AI.
Hey,
For what
that's
it's
crazy. Joy put something in the chat that looks like she has got a question that you might be able to answer, Russ.
Chad Valdez, are there tutorials about AI through YouTube, or do you have suggestions? So there are going to be tutorials through City. Neil filmed something for us when we were rolling it out and had it in test classes. And those will be available on the City website. I'm imagining there'll be a blurb about it that goes out, and those will be included in that. And Neil responded to that because that tells me I should have read his comment first. Who was I looking for, Tony?
Oh, I popped on.
Joy Gonzalez. It's down just a little further.
Okay, Skyview we made. You know, I taught at Skyview for 2 years. I was in the special ed class. I loved it. Skyview made
The best place.
So USU does have AI in ethics and AI in integrity language. The issue, and I should have talked about that at the beginning. I'm really glad that you brought that up. It's professor by professor. USU's stance right now, for the most part, is make sure you're adhering to your professor's guidelines. And so there are professors like me who encourage aggressive AI use and then teach students how to properly document it, both in citation and in just creation. If you're going to use AI to make something, you need to disclose its use. So you need a disclaimer, and there's templates for that. So there's people like me, and then there's people that forbid it, and there's people that say, well, there are ethical approaches for it, and here are some of those. And USU's, the link that Neil provided is really thorough for that, and that's what I use. That's what I used as a starting point. Actually, that's where I kind of got my feet under me. But I know that a lot of these decisions are going to be made on a high school level, and I'm honestly really curious as to what that looks like in the state in different high schools, and what that's going to look like, especially with that Center for Civic Excellence stuff that we're going to be developing. I have some really firm opinions about how this needs to shake out in that, and I think that involves you, to be honest.
That's a scary thought. Okay, that's good information. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. So I think the big stuff is it goes back to that critical thinking. And to be honest, that kind of validates me, because as an instructor, you know, I've been teaching for well over a decade now, and I know I'm in the humanities, and so I can't speak to everybody, but it always comes back to critical thinking for me. How can I encourage my students and empower them to think critically and for themselves? And in the wake of AI, and arguably in the wake of the algorithm, so this isn't even new, this is 20 years old, right? But in the wake of AI, this is more important than ever. So those of us that are good at this are needed now more than we've ever been, because these skills don't come automatically. Everybody can use Google, but not everybody can think about why they're using Google in the ways that they are, right? Or AI. And so I just really have the more I teach AI stuff, the more I just have a strong belief that it's not going to destroy the world, but that people need to be mindful of it because it does inhibit critical thinking and it does hand things to us. Again, it's not a new problem. It's just a little bit more pronounced now. We've been having to reevaluate our teaching philosophy for the past 20 years. You know, Google comes out, everybody freaks out because they think that the calculator, it's just like what happened with the calculator. In math classes in the, you know, previous century, calculators came out and everybody thought that, oh, story problems are invalidated now, right? You know, modes of processing data have changed all the time. I remember crawling under the sub-basement, in the sub-basement of my old high school in the 90s, in the early 90s, with like a roll of cable in my mouth because I had to crawl through this vent, and it was me running network cables because it was the first time my school ever got internet, like school-wide internet. And I got to the end, and the principal was talking with one of the teachers, and I think he was a science teacher, if I remember correctly. And he was sure that this was a waste of money, that this was a waste of funds, energy, resources, all of that, and that this was just going to be a flash in the pan and blow over in a few years. So why are we wiring our schools with all this fancy internet stuff? Well, I think the answer is obvious, right? And the cool thing is, where I used to be in a high school class where, or a class at least, maybe not high school, where I used to have to memorize state capitals, where I used to memorize the locations of government, things like that, name all the presidents, that kind of thing. Now those same classes, which I've actually observed some of my instructors, they don't focus on the memorization as much. They talk about the issues in those places at hand. Yeah, we know what the order of presidents was, that's obvious, but how did their policies affect the people around them? And let's have a discussion about that. And to be honest, hearing those discussions and remembering how they took place, we are light years ahead of where we used to be. And that makes me feel like I'm part of something bigger and that this journey is still happening. And I think that that's really valuable to remember, because all this stuff can be frustrating and overwhelming. But at the end of the day, you should be proud because, you know, they're looking to you for answers, and those answers are out there.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you so much for taking this extra time and having a little breakout session for those who didn't have one with their departments. So we really, really appreciate your time.
I am really proud of
left?
myself. I'm really proud of myself for keeping 11 people at 525. That's
You know, it's one of those things.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We are done for this year. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out. We appreciate you taking the time to join us this year for our instructor conference, and we will email out the all the resources from Jenny, from Elisa, and if Neil's got something, we'll send that, and we will have the recordings available too. So thank you again.